Mr. Chairman, thank you very kindly. Last Congress, the good chairman of the committee and the committee sent over 150 letters of inquiry and subpoenas to the DOJ and the FBI. That's more than 2 inquiries a week for every week that we were in session. All that breathless investigation didn't yield much evidence of weaponization any more than it led to the impeachment of Joe Biden, which was the express objective of it all. But I have good news for all of the weaponized sleuths and gumshoes out there on the committee. The Department of Justice and the FBI are now filled with actual staggering corruption and weaponized lawlessness, and we should get on it immediately. It's only been 36 days since the beginning of the administration, but we already have a thick report we're releasing today on the violations of law and the Constitution that have taken place, the early misdeeds of the Trump administration DOJ. It's true the federal courts have issued more than 20 temporary restraining orders and preliminary injunctions to try to stop this governmental crime wave, but we cannot maintain a demure legislative silence, Mr. Chairman, about the shocking weaponized corruption overtaking the U.S. Department of Justice. 10 days ago, 7 career prosecutors resigned in protest rather than carry out a corrupt and lawless order from the acting Deputy Attorney General and former Donald Trump private defense attorney, Emil Beauvais. He ordered prosecutors in the Southern District to dismiss for totally political reasons a major public corruption case against New York Mayor Eric Adams, who had been charged by a unanimous grand jury in a 57-page indictment with 5 felony counts of criminal bribery and soliciting illegal contributions. Trump ordered DOJ to withdraw the grand jury indictment after Adams traveled to Mar-a-Lago and agreed to back Trump's political agenda in return. The interim U.S. attorney, Danielle Sassoon, resigned rather than make her storied office a party to this profoundly corrupt bargain. She refused to extend prosecutorial favoritism towards a politician who had been indicted for serious bribery and corruption charges, nor would she participate in Mr. Beauvais' project to cover up the details of this dirty deal. Ms. Sassoon is a Republican with impeccable credentials in the conservative movement, for anyone who might doubt it, a member of the Federalist Society and a former law clerk to Supreme Court Justice Scalia, a jurist whom I know the chairman has repeatedly praised. Now, in ordinary times, we wouldn't have to raise this, but here we do, because we live in an atmosphere of political paranoia. This is a very conservative U.S. attorney who said she could not abide the corruption of the new Trump administration's Department of Justice. Her resignation triggered a cascade of further resignations as 6 other veteran prosecutors refused in their turn to take part in this corrupt bargain. The officials included the acting head of the criminal division, several leaders of DOJ's public integrity section, and the lead prosecutor on the case from the Southern District, Hagan Scotton, a decorated veteran, and another Republican with impeccable right-wing credentials who could not stomach the thought of joining this plot and said in a letter for the ages that I will submit to the record that it would take a fool or a coward to join this plot against justice. The next day, an apparently exasperated Mr. Beauvais demanded that the career prosecutors in the public integrity section volunteer one lawyer to sign this disgraceful dismissal order, or there would be a mass firing of all of them. One lawyer set to retire agreed to sign the dismissal to protect his colleagues from this outrageous threat of collective mass punishment, something that would be more appropriate to Stalin's Russia than the United States of America. This eye-popping sellout of public integrity and public safety in New York wasn't even a secret. In a Fox News interview, Tom Homan, the border czar, sat next to Mayor Adams and explicitly referred to the corrupt bargain, saying, quote, "If he doesn't come through, I'll be back in New York and we won't be sitting on a couch. I'll be in his office up his butt saying, where the hell is the agreement we came to?" Last Friday, the judge in the case at least provisionally refused to honor this dirty deal, instead appointing an independent monitor Republican Paul Clement to evaluate what should be done with the now orphaned 5-count criminal corruption indictment. Mr. Chairman, these facts are shocking. Blatant corruption, cover-up, mass resignations, threats, coercion. Can you imagine what the Republican members of this committee would be saying if that happened under President Biden? If Joe Biden had done that for the corrupt Democratic mayor of New York City? My God. This toxic sweetheart deal demands a committee inquiry. Where is it? It's infinitely worse than any of the flotsam and jetsam the committee examined with the brainy intensity of Lieutenant Columbo in the last Congress. But the majority has asked no questions, written no letters, demanded no briefings, issued no subpoenas on this scandal. Why not? Why's the cat got your tongue? Well, this Adams debacle provides just a whiff of the raw sewage already overpouring the Department of Justice. They sacked dozens of prosecutors with superior credentials and evaluations simply for doing their jobs when they were assigned to work on the January 6th case. These people must get their jobs back under the civil service rules, which allow dismissal and discipline only for poor performance or misconduct, but the majority has not uttered a peep wondering about how such an appalling violation of the law and professional ethics has come to pass. Why not? Last Congress, you investigated the DOJ for allegedly hiring and firing employees based on political ideology. Nothing came of it. Now DOJ has openly fired dozens of career prosecutors, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, for the sole reason that they were assigned to work on the January 6th insurrection cases. In other words, for doing their jobs in a case that Donald Trump now considers uncomfortable for him. How is that remotely acceptable? Even Trump said on January 7th, in the wake of the vicious, premeditated attack on our police and our Congress and our Constitution, that it was a heinous attack. He said the demonstrators who infiltrated the Capitol have defiled the seat of American democracy. To those who engage in the acts of violence and destruction, you do not represent our country. And to those who broke the law, he said, you will pay. Well, the only people paying now, after his pardons, are the prosecutors and FBI agents they're going after for doing their jobs. Because Donald Trump thinks it's too much truth. In an act of Orwellian revisionism that would make Joseph Stalin blush, Trump's team wants to punish hardworking prosecutors and FBI agents for doing the job they were told to do. If this is not weaponization of the Department of Justice, then what is, Mr. Chairman? It is far worse than the imaginary things floating around last Congress that led nowhere. When will we have a hearing on what is taking place for real in the Department of Justice right now? They've hollowed out the career leadership ranks at DOJ, ravaging the offices that prosecute public corruption and terrorism. Now we meet Ed Martin, the new U.S. Attorney in D.C., who's already proven himself to be to legal ethics what Bobby Kennedy is to public health. He's an election denier who participated in the insurrectionary mass protest of January 6th, which he joyfully likened to Mardi Gras on the social media. And until recently, very recently in fact, into his term of office, he's been a defense lawyer of record in the courts for numerous January 6th criminal defendants. After taking over the U.S. Attorney's Office, he fired dozens of prosecutors, again, for doing their jobs, for prosecuting January 6 rioters. But DOJ ethics rules plainly require that he recuse himself because of this glaring conflict of interest created by his ongoing representation of private plaintiffs being prosecuted by the government. Naturally, the Trump DOJ forced out the senior ethics official, Brad Weinsheimer, who would have ruled on the matter, and replaced him with two inexperienced political appointees who apparently think it's okay, not just for the fox to guard the henhouse, but for the fox to simultaneously represent other foxes in court who have already ravaged the henhouse. Mr. Martin has literally made filings on both sides of January 6th cases as defense counsel for participants in the riot, and now as a prosecutor dismissing the charges against the same defendants he was representing. When will there be a hearing on this? This is taking place right now. The list goes on. We don't have time to go through everything that's already happened, but I would encourage the chairman to please check out our report. This hearing was entitled Entering the Golden Age, Ending The Weaponization at the Department of Justice, a title that comes just in time to help us celebrate the 50th anniversary of Saturday Night Live. Well, perhaps the title's referring to a golden age for corrupt billionaires or lawless oligarchs and violent white nationalists, but it's no golden age for the Department of Justice, which is now mired in corruption and lawlessness, halting corruption prosecutions, disbanding the anti-corruption task forces, and purging veteran prosecutors and agents who are dedicated to public safety and have superior performance evaluations, but have run afoul of the new political correctness imposed on the department. Chairman Jordan has championed our power under Article 1 to ensure that the Department of Justice upholds the rule of law for all, without fear or favor. Good for him. I don't need to quote his eloquent speeches for you on the subject. We know them well. So I ask this committee to be true to our own beautiful words. Let's not use our oversight power selectively. Let's investigate these startling developments so dangerous to justice in America. And let's start with the dirty deal with Mayor Adams, which has now put a giant worm in the Big Apple. Mr. Chairman, I would invite you to join us in sending this letter today to Attorney General Bondi demanding specific answers on her shocking abuse of prosecutorial power, the shocking abuse of prosecutorial power that has taken place at DOJ in the whole Mayor Adams matter, and I would think that the committee should move very quickly to have a hearing on this next week. Thank you for your indulgence, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.